Hey guys, Ziamaro here. This is my updated guide to getting the best FPS you can in DayZ Standalone. I've updated it based on comments I've had on YouTube and Reddit, as well as my own extensive testing. I'm going to keep this as short as possible. Step 1. Disable core parking. The link's in the description. Go to this website and download Park Control. When you're ready to play your game, go to High Performance and click Make Active. Once you're done playing, come back to the program, go to Balanced and Make Active. Alternatively, you can download Process Lasso, or Lasso if you're American. This program automatically changes between high performance and balanced when you open and close games. However, it will only do this during the trial. After that, you'll have to buy the program. Step 2. DayZ Frame Boost. This gave me at least 3% better FPS. First, double-click DayZ Frame Boost. Then extract lpmanager.exe, and then right-click and run as admin. Next up, you'll have to find out which user DayZ runs under, and then you type it in here and click privilege. Then you restart your computer. Step 3, setting your launch options. I've done some pretty extensive testing on all of the options to find which of them work and which of them don't, and as a lot of people had said, CPU count, enable hyperthreading, and all that sort of stuff is merely a placebo effect. All of that is just done automatically by DayZ. However, there are 3 that I still think could be quite useful. Dash no pause, dash no splash, and dash skip intro. The 4th parameter that you can add is the memory allocator. Again, I've done a lot of my own benchmarking here, and it's very hard to tell exactly what's helping. But in my tests, I did find that this TBB4 malloc_bi did seem to give me a slight frame boost. It could have been a placebo, maybe this is the default memory allocator, but I'm not entirely sure. A lot of people said that setting it to system helps. I found in my tests that if anything, it actually made my performance worse. Next up, we have the in-game settings. There is one more section after this, so make sure you stick around for that. First of all, this doesn't actually affect your FPS, but it does make things feel a lot snappier. Turn your mouse smoothing down to 0. Next, go to video and make sure that VSync is disabled. It won't make a big difference straight away, but after we've changed a few more things, then you'll really notice a difference. Next up, go to quality settings and set objects to normal. You can set it to low or very low, and this will give you a very good FPS boost. However, players over 800 meters away may be invisible, which could be a problem if you're a sniper. Next up, we have terrain. This is actually controlled by the server, so it may not make a difference what you set it to. If you want, you can set it to very low, and if you go on a server that allows that, if there are any, then that will help your frame rate. Next, set clouds to disabled. They look nice, but they really destroy your frame rate. Shadows, this depends on your computer. I personally set this to very low because the difference for me between very low and disabled is really small. Although on lower end processors, setting it to very low apparently can make your performance worse. So if that's the case, then set it to disabled. Next up, we go to textures. Leave video memory on auto. If you have a graphics card from this century, then you should be fine on very high. But otherwise you can set it to normal or low if you don't have a lot of video memory. For texture filtering, on my current graphics card and on my old graphics card, I found that very high has no impact at all and makes textures look better at angles, so just leave it on very high. Next up, we have the rendering settings. Anti-aliasing is something that I'm a big fan of, but if you don't have a very good graphics card, then this is going to kill your frame rate, so I'd recommend disabling that. And once you've disabled anti-aliasing, it will automatically disable alpha to coverage as well, so you can just leave that as disabled. For edge smoothing, I personally like it on SMAA very high, but there are a lot of people who aren't a big fan of that. Some people will enable FXAA in their graphics drivers and leave it on disabled, but it's up to you. For HDR quality, put it on very low. Ambient occlusion looks very nice, but switch that off. I'd recommend turning post-process quality to disabled. Bloom and rotation blur may look nice to some people, but even if you're not trying to improve your frame rate, I'd recommend turning this off because it makes people a lot easier to spot in the distance. Finally, if you're still really struggling for frame rate, then you can change your rendering resolution to 88% or maybe 83%. this might help if you don't have a very good graphics card. Next up, we have the DayZ config file. Go to My Documents and then DayZ, right click on the DayZ config file and click Edit. The first thing you can change is GPU max frames ahead. Change that to 1 and GPU detected frames ahead to 1. This makes the game feel a little bit snappier, but it does actually lower your frame rate. So if you're really struggling for frames, leave it as is. Once you're done, close and save. Next up, go back to the DayZ folder and there should be a file named the same as your DayZ username. Right click on that and open it with Notepad again. Then scroll to the bottom and there should be a few settings here that you can change. First up, we have the shadow Z distance. If you've disabled your shadows, then you won't need this. But if you're still using them, you can half this value from 100 to 50. And this will help your frame rate if you're using shadows. Next up, we have view distance and preferred object view distance. These are roughly in meters. So at first they're set to over 3,000, but if you set them as low as 1,000, you'll still be able to see 1 kilometer away, but it will give you a huge FPS boost. If you're on a particularly low end system, then you can set it lower, like to 800 or even 500, but bear in mind you won't be able to see people over 500 meters away. This may be a problem if you're a sniper, but if your computer can't run DayZ comfortably any other way, then this may be your only option. When you're done, close it and save. Right click the file and go to Properties and set it to Read Only. This will prevent DayZ changing these settings after you open it again. But bear in mind that if you want to change anything in the settings again, you'll have to come back to this file and uncheck Read Only. I hope this tutorial has been useful. As always, leave comments if you have any questions or requests and I'll do my best to help. If you like the video, then don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, cheers!